not supposed to be able to do this, but I planned a 2-week trip where you can experience more Pokemon than most fans ever will. Rare card hunts, real world locations that inspired the games, and even a Pokemon theme park. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. And if you follow this guide right, you will be able to fit everything in to just 14 nights in Japan. Throughout this guide, I will also be sharing trainer tips that will help make your trip smoother and cheaper. Right, let's start planning this trip. So here's the plan. We start in Tokyo, which has some of the most famous Pokemon centers in the world. We're also going to be traveling north to places like Utsunomiya and Gunma, where we're going to hunt for retro Pokemon cards, retro Pokemon games for a much lower cost than the city centers, trust me, and visit locations believed to have been the original inspiration for the Pokemon games. After that, we're taking Shinkansen, or bullet train, down to Kyoto and Osaka, exploring Johto inspiring locations and even more Pokemon centers. Then we're going to head even further west to Hiroshima and Fukuoka before returning to Tokyo for the final few nights. By the end of this journey, you will have experienced more Pokemon than most fans will ever see. But before we get on the plane, there are a few things you need to know first. Trainer tip number 1. One of the best things you can do when traveling to places like Japan is do what we call the Russian doll suitcase technique. That is where you take a massive suitcase, put inside it a medium-sized suitcase, and then put inside that a small-sized suitcase. If you take just enough clothes to fill up the small suitcase, then you've got 2 suitcases with enough space to put your Pokemon plushies, your Pokemon games, your Pokemon cards, games console, all these things. They take up so much room and they weigh quite a bit as well. So just make sure you spread them weight-wise pretty evenly between your suitcases. And if you're watching this video, you're a Pokemon fan, which means you're gonna be buying a lot. Trainer tip number 2. Before flying, go online and register for Visit Japan Web. The link is in the description below, along with links to many other things that I'll be talking about throughout this video. I'll try and keep it organized and tidy down there so you don't get lost. The website gives you a QR code that can be scanned, and it's going to save you a ton of time with immigration when you first land. And make sure you screenshot it. Not every SIM card activates as soon as you land. Some of them take a few hours even, which is exactly what happened to me and my cousin on our last trip. I got through absolutely fine because I screenshotted my QR code, but he did not, so he had to fill out all the forms anyway. It takes just a few minutes of your time if you're in the UK or America or wherever you're at, and saves you half hour, an hour, 2 hours when you first land in Tokyo. Trainer tip number 3. I assume you can do this on Android as well, but definitely if you have an iPhone, make sure you download your Suica card from the Apple Wallet. It's very, very simple to do. You just go to your Apple Wallet, add card, and it will be like a travel card or something like that, and then just type in Suica, spelled S-U-I-C-A, and just put 10,000 yen on there. That'll be plenty. This means you can just open up your phone, tap to go through, just like you do with your Oyster card in London or your Metro card in New York. Tokyo's train system looks complicated, but with a combination of your Suica card and Google Maps, you'll be navigating around like you live there. Trainer tip number 4. Another thing that has improved massively in recent years is live translation technology. There are loads of apps that can just listen to someone talk and translate it for you live, and earpods even do it now. Japan is already very tourist friendly, but if you're ever unsure about asking for directions, then these tools will make your life a lot easier. So make sure you get those downloaded to your phone and update your earpods if you haven't done so already, because the beta is already live. Now, you don't actually need to learn a lot of Japanese, but learning just a few phrases will make your life a lot easier when you're navigating around, and they make the interactions a little bit nicer, starting with hello, which is konnichiwa. Thank you is arigatou gozaimasu. Yes is hey. Saying no or I'm okay is daijoubu desu, and the one you're probably going to be using the most if you're hitting up all those Pokemon card stores, ko misete kudasai, which literally means can I see this please. Then they will open the case for you and show you the card so you can inspect it for whitening or creases or scratches on the hollow. You can just point at a card in a display case and say that. And there's just one more thing hidden somewhere in this video. There are 3 Team Rocket passwords. If you see all 3 of them and subscribe to the channel, head over to my Instagram, which is just @Nintendo. Shoot us a message over there, list the 3 passwords and your trainer code on Pokemon Go. I will add the first 10 people that do so, and on my next trip to Japan, I'll make sure to send you guys all the postcards and invite you to any raids that I do. But don't worry if you miss out, I've got a follow-up video coming to the channel with an even bigger trip, and there'll be another 10 slots available there. So if you wanted to get involved but you missed out, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you know when that video drops. stops. So keep your eyes peeled. You won't find all 3 unless you watch carefully. Now, when we land in Tokyo, we most likely will be landing in Haneda Airport. Quick note to remind you, if you're traveling from the USA or the UK, which you probably are if you're watching this video, you will be landing the day after you leave. So if you fly out on a Tuesday, you will be landing on a Wednesday. Just remember that. It's really easy to forget that when you're booking your hotels. But anyway, back to Haneda Airport. Appropriately enough, there is a Pokemon vending machine at the airport. And I can't remember off the top of my head exactly where in the airport it is, but I'm sure Editor Me has put a little bit of text up on the screen for you guys so you know where you're going if you want to go find it. It's even easier to find if you just open Pokemon Go and check, because there's a Pokestop for it. Here you can buy exclusive Pikachu plushies, one where he's dressed as a flight attendant and one where he's dressed as a pilot, and they have HND written on them so you know you got it from Haneda Airport. Because if you land at Narita Airport, they've got a whole Pokemon store there. It's a little bit more out of the way, so I would probably recommend trying to fly to Haneda, but at least you got the cool Pokemon store if you do happen to land at Narita, which has the same Pikachu plush, but it says NRT instead. Trainer tip number 5. If you're planning to buy a 14-day JR pass, then do not activate it at the airport. You can activate it the following day and still get your money's worth, as we are on a 14-night trip, at least in this video. The lines at the airport can be in excess of 2 hours, which after a 13+ hour flight is just not It's not ideal. Instead, whip out the Suica card, jump on the train and head straight into the city. And I'll show you exactly where we're going to be activating the JR Pass in just a few moments. Okay, so we're on the train, we're heading to the hotel. Check-in is usually about 3 PM. So if you're on one of those lovely 7 AM flights out to Tokyo with British Airways from London Heathrow, you're probably going to be landing quite early. But the hotel staff, generally speaking, are more than happy to look after your bags while you go out exploring. So just bring your bags there, check your bags in, and we can come back to the hotel to check in properly and freshen up a little bit later on. One hotel I can recommend is the Hen-Na Hotel in Asakusabashi. It's one of the famous Japanese robot hotels, and it has excellent links to trains, given that it is right next to Asakusabashi train station, which is a JR line, which means once you activate your JR Pass, you can ride that for free. Link in the bio for that hotel with booking.com. But now we've dropped our bags off at the hotel, we can head out for our first proper Pokemon adventure, and there's only one place to stop. This is one of the busiest pedestrian crossings in the world, and standing there watching the crowds move in every direction honestly feels surreal the first time you see it in person, especially with the jet lag and adrenaline combo you're currently dealing with. Just around the corner you'll find Pokémon Center Shibuya, which has the coolest display of any Pokemon Center period. Right in the middle of the entranceway there is a huge life-size Mewtwo statue, complete with a tank which looks like it came straight from the first Pokemon movie. One of the coolest things about this Pokemon Center in particular is that you can have your own custom Pokemon t-shirt made. If you want to create a custom t-shirt, the wait time can be a little while, so go to that first, get the custom t-shirt on the way, then look around the Pokemon Center, because like I say, if you're going to be waiting like an hour, you might as well do some shopping in the meantime, right? And just across from there we have also got the Nintendo Tokyo store, where you can find merchandise for other Nintendo favourites like Super Mario Brothers, The Legend of Zelda, Pikmin, and Animal Crossing. Once we're finished up here, we're going to head to Skytree. At the base of the tower, you'll find another Pokemon Center, and this one has two incredible Rayquaza statues which are coiling through the ceiling. We have a regular Rayquaza and a shiny Mega Rayquaza. Then if you're not scared of heights, you can take the elevator straight up the tower, and you can get one of the best views of Tokyo skyline sprawling out in every direction. The perfect way to end our first day in Tokyo. And then we start our second day by heading straight to Tokyo Station so we can activate our JR Pass. Which brings me to trainer tip number 6. While we're here, we're going to use our JR Pass to reserve some seats on the Shinkansen to and from Kyoto, so we're guaranteed a nice comfy seat, because that is one of the longer train journeys we're going to be going. Make sure you reserve seats towards the back of the carriage, because these are the ones that have enough space for large luggage. Alternatively, you can arrange for the hotel to have your luggage forwarded for you. Totally up to you, whatever you prefer. Next stop is Pokemon Center Tokyo DX. This is the biggest Pokemon Center in the entire country. and it is absolutely packed full of merchandise. If you are looking for your favourite Pokemon Fit plushie, this is most likely where you're going to find it. And not far from there, we also have Nakano Broadway, a legendary shopping complex full of Mandarake stores and retro toy shops. You can spend hours exploring this place. First time I went there, I was specifically looking for Pokemon cards, and I got lost. But luckily for you guys, I did also film myself getting lost, and there was a map, and I don't have access to it right now, but the map was in this video, which is also linked below. So go watch that vlog if you want to find the map, and it'll take you straight to where the Pokemon cards are at. Make sure you screenshot it though, alright, so you know where you're going when you get there. I think it was called Card Can with a K. Don't quote me on that. Later in the afternoon, we're going to head down to Yokohama. The Pokemon Center here is themed around water Pokemon, and the waterfront itself is very, very pretty to walk around. In the same building as the Pokemon Center, we also have a fantastic vintage store which sells all kinds of things from old Pokemon plushies, old Pokemon games. They have a selection of Pokemon cards, but it's the Pokemon games and the plushies you're really here for. It's a very well-known hotspot amongst every Pokemon YouTuber who travels around Japan. So that is Surugaya. Write that down. Same building as the Pokemon Center. And now we're heading into day 3, where we're going to take the entire day to visit PokéPark Kanto. This is a brand new theme park which just opened in 2026, and it's located just outside of Tokyo. It's essentially an entire theme park dedicated to Pokemon experiences. And if you're a Pokemon fan, this is one of the most exciting things you can do in Japan right now. I haven't visited yet, but my fiance and I are very excited to try and secure our tickets to get ourselves there next year. Now, this is where things get really interesting. We're going to start the day by heading to Tokyo Flea Market, where we're hoping to find some absolute bargains. You can find locals selling weird and wonderful things. Some of them are even selling games consoles, and if you're really lucky, Pokemon cartridges and Pokemon cards. Once we've finished thrifting, we are heading up north to the prefecture of Gunma, which many fans believe helped inspire Pewter City in the games. Instead of flashy shopping malls, this prefecture is full to the brim with thrift stores like Hardoffs, Hobbyoffs and Bookoffs. These places often have bins full of old Pokemon cards and shelves full of Pokemon games, and typically speaking, they're a lot cheaper than you find them in Tokyo. Trust me when I say that this day can be extremely tiring. On our last trip, we spent the entire day travelling between every Hardoff and Bookoff we could find, but we left with some incredible purchases. There's a little stack of links in the description below which will show you all the Hardoffs and Bookoffs that you can visit in the area. On day 5, we're heading to Utsunomiya, believed by many to have inspired Cerulean City in the games. Before we head to the main event, we are going to visit this building, which has Pokemon card store on top of Pokemon card store on top of another Pokemon card store, one of which is a Mandarake, which is definitely the best stocked and best priced Mandarake that I found on my entire trip last time, so definitely hit up this location. Much cheaper than the Nakano Broadway. Trust me. But the highlight here is the Oya History Museum, an enormous underground quarry which inspired the Unknown Dungeon or Cerulean Cave in Pokemon Red and Blue. Walking through these caves truly does give the atmosphere that there's going to be a Mewtwo sitting at the end somewhere, which is exactly what happened in this video, which again there's a link in the description below for. In this video I caught a Mewtwo on Pokemon Go in the Oya History Museum. Definitely one of my biggest Pokemon Go flexes, that's for sure. Now we're leaving Kanto behind and heading to the Johto region. On day 6, we check out of our Tokyo hotel, head to Tokyo Station where we jump on the Shinkansen, which takes us straight to Kyoto. The journey itself is an experience. Japan's bullet trains are incredibly fast and smooth. Try to book a window seat on the right hand side so you can maybe, if you're very lucky, get a lovely view of Mount Fuji. Once we get there, we're going to check into the hotel, but we're not going to do any exploring in Kyoto today. Kyoto is a very 9 to 5 kind of city, and if you've arrived at when I expect you will, which is probably around 3 PM point, most things in Kyoto are starting to wind down. So instead of wasting time, we're going to jump straight on the Shinkansen again and get ourselves to Osaka. Osaka at night is full of street food, neon lights and energy. It's the perfect contrast to Kyoto's historic atmosphere. On a side note, Osaka is crazy good for Pokemon Go. So just spend a little bit of time mooching around tonight, no pressure, have a little evening off. On day 7, we're going to head straight to the Pokémon Center Kyoto, which is themed around the Johto region. It has statues of Lugia, Ho-Oh, and Johto starters, including my boy Totodile. From here, we're going to take a stroll over to Nijo Castle, which is probably the quietest spot we visited on our trip so far. The gardens are stunning and make great photo opportunities for yourself and your Pokemon. Then we head to Kinkakuji. This location clearly inspired the Tin Tower in Pokemon Gold and Silver and is closely connected to Ho-Oh, the Phoenix sitting atop being a direct reference. If Ho-Oh are in raids in Pokemon Go while you're there, be sure to hang around and catch one because there is a gym at Kinkakuji. That might be an even bigger flex than my Mewtwo flex, so let me know in the comments below if you achieve that. We then head to the Nijon district to get a real feel for what it might have been like to walk through the streets of Ecruteak City. Here you'll see geishas strolling around and possibly the most famous Starbucks on planet Earth. On day 8, we're going to take a trip to Universal Studios, home to Super Nintendo World. This area recreates the Mushroom Kingdom in stunning detail, and it's one of the most popular attractions in the country right now. After laying the smackdown on everybody on Mario Kart and having a chill time with the Yoshi, we're going to head back to the Osaka City Center and head to the Pokémon Center, Osaka DX, where you'll find a fantastic photo opportunity with the legendary bird trio. Yeah, and I know what you were thinking earlier. What kind of ultimate Pokemon guide is this? He's not even mentioned the Pokemon Cafe. That's because I'm not Silly Billy. Osaka is where you want to try and get your reservation for. Tokyo is a far more popular city, even though Osaka is amazing in its own right, arguably even nicer than Tokyo, but even though it is extremely touristy, it's still less touristy than Tokyo. So you'll have far less competition trying to get a reservation for the Pokemon Cafe here than you would have done at the one in Tokyo. You need to visit the website and book your slot early though. I don't know what the time and dates are on the top of my head of when the reservations go up, but I'm sure editor Nintendo has added a little graphic there for you to read. Screenshot it if you like. On day 9, we're going to explore some of Osaka's best card shops and book-offs. Some of these shops specialise in vintage cards, and if you're really lucky, you can find some incredible deals. This book-off in particular was my absolute favourite. This book-off is where I found this Ho-Oh and this Tyranitar card, and these Umbreon and Espeon cards. And it's really close to the Glico Running Man. On day 10, we're going to start by climbing the famous Fushimi Inari Shrine Path, walking through hundreds of bright red torii gates. One of the most popular spots in all of Kyoto. The hike isn't too tough. I'd personally recommend climbing to this spot for an amazing view of the Kyoto landscape. Climbing further to the summit unfortunately doesn't offer much in the way of a reward, so you can probably head straight back down unless you want the flex, I guess. Next we're going to head to one of my personal favourite spots in the entirety of Japan, Lake Biwa. Clearly the inspiration for the Lake of Rage in Pokemon Gold and Silver, where we see the red shiny Gyarados. For many of you, probably your first shiny Pokemon. If you head there, you can find a Gyarados and shiny Gyarados Pokelid. In the nearby city of Otsu, there are a couple of Bookoffs and Hardoffs worth checking out, one of which I found this shiny Gyarados card, and it couldn't have made a better memento considering where we are. Okay, so this is the part of the trip where we are going to head further than most Pokemon fans ever go when visiting Japan. We're going to start by heading west to Hiroshima, where we can visit the Peace Memorial Park, the site of the infamous atomic bomb from World War II. And of course, we have to visit the local Pokémon Center, which funnily enough also features a red Gyarados. Another smaller Pokémon Center has recently been announced for the area. I haven't really got the details on that yet because I'm making this video shortly after it was announced, but that'll be there as well, I guess. If you're a Pokemon Go player, you might notice that there are no Pokestops or gyms in the vicinity of the atomic bomb site. This was done out of respect for the events that transpired here. And now we're going to head even further west to Fukuoka, another city with another Pokemon Center and some excellent shopping to do. I haven't actually visited Fukuoka before, but it is on the itinerary for my next trip to Japan, which will be happening next year, and I will be covering it in full, so if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. For the final few days of the trip, we return to Tokyo. This is your chance to slow things down and pick your final highlights. Revisit your favourite Pokemon Center. Go back to that Pokemon card store and buy that card that you thought was too expensive that you might find cheaper later on the trip. Or, if the weather is on your side, consider heading out towards Mount Fuji. Good Temper has some amazing views of Mount Fuji, as well as its own Pokemon store that isn't as well known as the other ones around Japan. You can even buy yourself a Mount Fuji Pikachu plush. There's something surreal about seeing one of the most famous landmarks in all of Japan while still being surrounded by Pokemon. However you choose to spend these final days, this is where the trip really sinks in. Because at this point, you're not just visiting Pokemon locations anymore. You've travelled across regions, you've collected memories, and you've built your own journey along the way. And for my final trainer tip, before packing your suitcase, head to Don Quixote in Tokyo City Centre. There, you can find some bubble wrap, and after 2 weeks of making Pokemon purchases, you're gonna need it. So after 2 weeks of travelling across Japan, from that first Pokemon Center in Shibuya, hunting rare cards and retro games in Gunma, and exploring real-world locations that inspired the games, this is the closest you'll ever get to living out your own real-life Pokemon adventure. And the best part? We're only just scratching the surface, because next year I'm going even bigger. A 3-week trip across the entirety of Japan to visit every single Pokemon Center, discover even more hidden locations, and push this idea even further. And if you want to see that adventure unfold, or even plan your own Pokemon journey someday, you're going to want to be subscribed for that, because we are only just getting started.